All
There's the cat.
right, welcome everyone to Killer Kimchi with Chef Uyen Pham. My name is Nora Shavanik and I'm the Deputy Director at Texas Farmers Market. Thank you for being here and for supporting our local farmers and ranchers today at the 8th annual celebration of the Austin Fermentation Festival. Texas Farmers Market hosts this event, and we are a nonprofit centered around hosting and educating Central Texas producers and consumers to grow a sustainable food system. We love having you all here tonight, and we hope that you will come out and see us at the farmers markets. We run Texas Farmers Market at Lakeline on Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. and Texas Farmers Market at Miller from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Other people pronounce it Mueller. You may notice that way as well. Just a little bit of housekeeping for the event tonight. Chef Pham is actually zooming in from New York State tonight. So she is gonna have some help demonstrating kimchi making from the wonderful Yukon. That's why you see two screens tonight. So if you have questions throughout the workshop, just drop your questions in the chat box and I can ping them over to Chef Pham. Or if you want to ask your question, I know we have some friends in the audience, just drop your name into the chat box and I will let Chef Pham know that you have a question, and then we can turn on your audio and or your video if you are interested. But that will help us kind of keep the flow going and not have people just unmuting and asking questions throughout, so we can make sure that we get all of the fabulous information that Chef Pham has prepared for us tonight. Please also don't forget that in addition to our workshops, we're hosting an amazing silent auction again this year. Items have been donated from beloved local businesses and fermentation festival favorites, including places like William Chris Vineyards, Bunkhouse Hotels, Emmer & Rye, and a lot more. Bidding is fully virtual, so those people who are listening from out of state, you can also bid. And it's running through our last workshop on November 1st at 9 p.m. Auction items can be picked up from Texas Farmers Market, or they can be shipped. So we encourage everyone to bid early and often. And please remember that while this talk is free, any donations and bids from our silent auction do benefit the Texas Farmers Market and our Ag Producer Support Fund, which allows us to support farmers and ranchers and all of our producer vendors during times of hardship and crisis. Like, for example, this year during Winter Storm Uri, our scholarship, we were able to give out $20,000 of immediate assistance through our scholarship. And we also use these funds to be able to provide a scholarship for new BIPOC farmers joining Texas Farmers Markets. So please bid generously at the silent auction, and I will drop the link to donate and the link for the silent auction into the chat box. Now on to our workshop, the main event. So we are so thrilled to have Chef Pham back for the third year in a row presenting at the Austin Fermentation Festival. Chef Pham holds a master's degree in education and taught at the collegiate level for nearly a decade before pursuing her culinary career. She graduated from the top of her class at the Culinary Institute of America, and Chef Pham was born in Saigon and specializes in Asian and European cuisine and has worked in some of New York City's finest restaurants for Danny Meyer, Alfred Portale, Anita Lowe, and Andrew Carmelini. She taught at the Whole Foods Culinary Center and Central Market Cooking School for 4 years and has done pop-up dinners for Dinner Lab and was a judge for the Food Network show All-Star Academy. Since 2017, she has been an instructor at the Culinary Institute of America, and we are so excited to have her here tonight, and I am going to kick the microphone off to Chef Pham.
Thank you, Nora. Wow, that was quite a blurb. Yeah, well, you all, thank you so much for joining me tonight. Yukon, some of you, if you've ever been out to the Fermentation Fest, you'll recognize Yukon. She's actually has done the workshop with me before. So she's native Korean, obviously, and really, I gotta plug this. She's about to launch her line of her chili oil. So if you guys want to check her out on Instagram, it's House of Yeast. But we're here to talk about kimchi. So yeah, don't be afraid to ask any questions tonight. We're here. And this is a little bit weird because I'm so used to being at the festival and just interacting with the crowd. So let's talk kimchi. Kimchi is an ancient Korean, really to me, art of preservation. And you can preserve really just about anything, but it was really born out of surplus, right? When we think about fermented foods or preserved foods, whether it's or cured or anything like that, it's when you have a huge crop of protein or vegetables, fruits, and you're trying to sustain that. And that's what they did and continue to do in Korea. So tonight we're focusing on Napa cabbage, but you could do kimchi with just about anything, radishes, greens, scallions, cucumbers. But the most common when you hear kimchi is Napa cabbage, which we're going to show tonight. So sometimes I get questions, can you do it with regular green cabbage, Western cabbage? Yes, you can. It is going to be a little bit different. I've done it with Brussels sprouts and just kind of have some fun with it. But if we're going authentic traditional, we want to use Napa cabbage. So Yukon, can you show them Napa cabbage? I don't know, some people may or may not be familiar. So right there, and she cut it in half. And it's really large. How do you pick a really great Napa cabbage? I think what we look for is something really heavy, really compact, and it changes throughout the year. So just like any seasonal crop, you could taste it, right? I always like to taste my product raw, like fruits and vegetables, just to see what I'm working with, because if it's in season and it's really sweet, I may not add additional sugar or sweeteners to it. So just like anything, berries and things like that, if I'm making a pie, and it's in season, I will cut back the sugar. So pick something really large, compact, and heavy. And we can talk about the traditional method of, they would actually take the whole head of Napa and pull back each leaf and then smear this kind of what we call porridge inside. Sometimes they might cut it in half or quarter it. Tonight, we're going to do what we call quick kimchi, where we're actually going to cut it up. So basically, the smaller, right, the cabbage or vegetable is, the quicker it's going to break down and ferment. So it's a matter of when do you want to eat it, right? Do you want to eat it tonight, tomorrow, the next day? Or are you trying to preserve it throughout the whole winter, which is what they did in Korea, where they actually bury it in these clay pots in the ground. So I don't think we're going to do that tonight, right, Yukon? We're not going to bury anything in the ground. Take you back to your roots. So the first thing that we want to look at is breaking the cabbage down, because right now it's really fresh. There's a lot of water content in it. So we want to actually remove some moisture from it. And we can do that one of two ways. So you can see Yukon's going to chop this up. So she already cut it in. Now she's going to quarter it. And you see how she just kind of pulled it apart, right? And she's going to cut off the core just so that all of the layers fall apart. And that center part right there, she's just going to give it a rough chop. And I'd say, what do you think? Maybe about 2 inches or so chunks. Yukon, can you show them? Maybe put it up against the palm of your hand, one of those, just so that they can see about the size. There you go. Yeah, so a little, like bite size, right? We're not looking to mince it or chop it or anything like that. That would be, to me, too small. So don't put it through your food processor blade and shoot it through like you're shredding for a coleslaw or something like that. We're talking large chunks. So you see how she's just throwing it into a large bowl. Now, if she was at home, she'd be throwing this into her bathtub, because she usually does like a whole case of Napa cabbage. Then she'd get in there with her boots and start stomping around like they make grapes. I'm joking. So, all right, so she's cutting up the cabbage. Then we're gonna salt it. So I'm gonna backtrack a little bit while she's doing that and talk you through. So there's two schools of kimchi. What or people refer to as a cure, which is dry, which is what we're going to do tonight, where we're just going to sprinkle some salt. You see what she's doing right now? So she's layering the cabbage with some salt. And are you using Korean sea salt tonight?
Yes.
Yeah. So, we want to be authentic. And so she's got some Korean sea salt. If you don't have Korean sea salt, it's okay. You could do kosher salt, absolutely fine. But if you can find the Korean sea salt, like at the Asian market or something, it's a little bit, to me, it feels almost like wet sand. It just has like a really nice salinity to it. So that's all she's doing is tossing salt and the cabbage. And then, and I'll get to about how much in a second. So that's one method of cure, dry. And then the other method is wet. So like a brine. Okay. So we tend to do the dry method. I find that it's just a lot faster. So how much in terms of ratio? So the large head of cabbage is usually probably about 2 to 3 pounds. And so we're looking at about 2 to 3 tablespoons. So you can kind of go per pound, like 1 tablespoon per pound would be a kind of a good ballpark. Now for the brine, Yukon and I, when we're in the kitchen and we're testing recipes, we're going to work off percentages. But just so that you all don't have to do any math tonight, we'll go volume. So for 1 cup of sea salt, you would use 1 gallon of water. Okay, so 1 cup of salt to 1 gallon of water. And then you're just going to throw the cabbage into that and just kind of let it swim around. Okay, so now that she's done salting that, and you can certainly ask questions let me know if I'm going too fast. So how long now is it going to sit there? What we'll do is kind of to speed it up. She'll probably put something heavy on it. Maybe it's another bowl, maybe it's a pot or something. What are you going to put on there tonight?
Probably my other bowl. That's already like shrunk.
Yeah, bowl. So she's TV timing this for us tonight. So you can see in that bowl, she already has cabbage that has been sitting and salting for how long? What time did you start that?
4:30.
Okay. 4:30 and okay, so Austin time, so 2.5 hours. Can you show them, show them what that cabbage looks like now? Like kind of maybe zoom in.
So about every 30 minutes, I come in here and toss this so the salt kind of evenly draws out the moisture. I would probably go another 30 minutes because what you're looking for is like one of these like thick pieces to bend like all the way without breaking. Right now, it's almost there. Maybe 30 more minutes will mix that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like these thicker pieces, they should be able to bend.
Right.
Yeah, it's almost there. So. And it'll usually shrink about half. This was full, so yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of times I think people, they get this head of cabbage and they think it's going to make a ton. And by the time it shrivels up, right, and loses water, it ends up, not being that much. But it just depends on how much kimchi you're eating. So all right, so that stem is what she was talking about, that really hard white stem. We want it to be pliable. You should be able to do like a little Pac-Man with it, okay? And the other thing you can always do that I'm going to encourage is that you taste it. So you can just take a bite out of it and like, does it taste salty? Does that cabbage actually taste seasoned now? Or does it just taste like plain cabbage, right? So that brine that we were referring to before, that should actually taste like the ocean. So as chefs, we kind of refer to tasting like the ocean on a few occurrences, definitely when we're making kimchi and also if we're making boiling pasta. So, all right, we good? You all with me? Did you fall asleep? I have some coffee here that I'm drinking tonight. So, all right, what are we moving on to next? You wanna talk about the paste? Ready to do the paste, Yukon?
Guinea paste,
Yeah.
but it's rice flour, like a 1:4, 1:5 ratio. It's a substitute for the sugar since starch will eventually turn into sugar with all the bacteria in the kimchi as it's fermenting. So my dad said people in the South use paste and people not North Korea, but the northern part of South Korea, they use just like sweetener, like a sugar, It just depends on the cabbage. I won't put a ton of sugar. I did bring a little bit just to feed the bacteria. Like all of that will eventually be eaten by the bacteria and you'll get that sour taste.
Yeah, so we're relying on wild yeast, right? So for fermented foods, we're basically following a very basic formula. What we're looking at is some form of yeast, whether it's commercial, if you're making bread, right, instant active yeast or something, or fresh yeast, but we're relying on wild yeast. So this is in the air, it's on our skin, it's on fruits, vegetables, and that's why when you're making kimchi, you actually want to do it with your bare hands, and that way you're adding the wild yeast to it. Now, if you were really serious about it, you'll see the moms and the aunties and the grandmothers put their rubber gloves on and they're just getting in there. But I think that's really important is to add that organic natural element to making kimchi. So wild yeast, right? And then it needs sugar, right? So yeast loves sugar, it thrives on it. So where's the sugar coming from? It can obviously come from the cabbage. It can come from the rice flour that Yukon was talking about, like what we call like the porridge. I'll be honest with you all. When I'm making kimchi, I just don't have a lot of time. So I don't do the porridge at all. I strictly go cabbage and all the other ingredients that we're going to talk about in a little bit. So it needs some type of sweetener. Okay, so that's what I was talking about. If the cabbage is really sweet, I may not add additional sugar. What sugar substitutes could we use if you don't want direct sugar, like granulated sugar, raw sugar? Any of those are fine. Maybe it's just fresh fruit. I recently did one. I didn't post it on my Instagram, but I recently did one with figs that were really ripe, and I actually just kind of mashed them up and used that to feed my wild yeast. And you couldn't taste the figs at all. But I thought it was really, really fun. But we've used things like bananas, kiwi. Yukon, what else do you use? Do you like to use?
I would probably put like apple or apple juice, pear juice. Right now, because the cabbage is in season, it's really sweet, so you really don't need the sugar. But like some people just want to give it a head start and they want it to ferment a lot faster. Yeah, you add a little bit of sugar. It doesn't take much, like less than a tablespoon.
Right. Yeah.
So you could probably use any fruit that you want. You just need something that's not a sugar substitute, because that's not going to feed the yeast. It's just going to taste sweet and it's never going to break down. It's just going to be in your kimchi. But I suppose you could do that if you don't want it to feed the bacteria or anything. So that's kind of up to you. Every house and family makes their kimchi different and they taste different. You can make the same exact recipe, but the yeast and the bacteria in the air, it's different with each household. So it tastes a little different.
Yeah. So, all right. So we've got wild yeast, right? Again, that's not something that you can capture or weigh. It's just in the air and it's in your ingredients. You've got some type of sugar source, right, to feed the yeast. And then now we need to add some type of salinity. So we added some of the Korean sea salt, but we could, for umami, right, we might use, are you using fish sauce tonight?
This is Korean fish sauce. Sometimes I do, and so it just depends on my mood. It's just if you want that funky, like extra background flavor, this will do it. If you just want a simple vegan style kimchi, that's perfectly fine too. Usually that's what I make. But yeah, you can use any seafood. There's like tons of seafood that you can add. You just have to add it gently sometimes, or the salted version of, like, you could add salted shrimp, oysters, that type of thing.
Squid, yeah, like salted squid. So, and that's where kimchi is going to vary regionally. So if you're in Seoul, Korea, or maybe if you're more on the countryside or along the port of like Busan, you're going to see a ton of different varieties of kimchi. So again, they might be using the oysters, squid, and it's all raw, but it breaks down as it ferments. And when we're talking about the salted shrimp, we're talking the teeny tiny little salted shrimp, and they're doing all of that for umami, right? So if you're vegan, maybe I have some vegetarian or vegans on tonight. That's fine. We gotcha. So we could always do coconut aminos and just salt. Soy sauce, I haven't experimented with it. I know Yukon's giving that the, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's called a pickle. When you go into soy sauce in your vegetables, it becomes a Korean pickle, soy sauce pickle. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. So soy sauce is out, but coconut aminos I think would be fine.
There's some sweetness.
And salt, and then to get that umami, we could probably squeeze in maybe like some seaweed,
Some seaweed.
right? Something just to kind of give it a little bit of that lift. So
A little bit of that depth.
yeah. Okay, so we got salt, and then now we need to talk about heat. So spice. So there are three ingredients that I kind of think of. So the first is going to be the most important, which is the Korean chili flakes, and that's Gochugaru. So you wanna show them, pour it in your hand maybe. So this is a very coarse red chili flake. It also comes fine, like a powder, but when you're making kimchi, you actually want it coarse. So look at how red, look at how bright, vibrant red that chili flake is. This freaks people out. They think it's going to be super hot and spicy. It's not actually. It's just for show. So it's unlike, say, Thai red chili flakes that will really light you up. But this is just a beautiful color. And so when you're picking Gochugaru, maybe you're at the Asian market, whatever one that you're near, Ranch 99 or H Mart or something like that, and you're going down that Asian aisle and you see about 20 different ones. Which one should you go for, right? Yeah, so I picked the one that's really bright red. Nothing too dark. If it's dark, it tells me that it's probably old and it's oxidized. And they're just in clear packages, so you should be able to see through them. Yukon, you got any tips for them on the Gochugaru?
So a lot of times, like, there's no English on here. So you have to look at the back, or like there'll be a little bit of English. If it says hot, it's going to be spicy. Usually there's a picture of like kimchi in the background somewhere. But yeah, stay away from the fine, because although it's fine, it's just, it's usually used for like the side dishes or soups, because it kind of disperses and it kind of dissolves into the whatever you're making. So you want the coarse for that bright color in your kimchi.
Yeah, so some people might say, well, if I don't have that, can I use a substitute like crushed red chili flakes?
You can, it just won't taste Korean, and don't serve it to a Korean person.
Yes, yeah. Yes. Or Aleppo pepper or something. I love my Mediterranean, cuisine and cooking, but totally different flavor profile. So yeah, just know that it's different. It's not authentic. Don't call it, I'd say don't call it kimchi. You can call it kimchi. You can call it whatever you want. Just don't.
It's your version of kimchi now.
Your version. So all right, so that's going to be heat number one. And then number two, this is where Yukon and I start to battle it out, because and she's making it tonight, so she gets to do it however she wants. Garlic and ginger. So I do 4 parts garlic to 1 part ginger, because I don't like a lot of raw ginger, and she loves it. She bathes in it and does a mask every night. So talk to them about your ginger. Are you equal parts?
I do equal parts. If I make any for you though, I tend to like really puree this ginger, and that way you don't get that bite that you don't like.
So much love. Yeah.
And yeah, you can go fine, like more fine than what I have here. I just like the bite and like a little bit of texture still in there. So, but you can go more pureed if you want to.
Yeah. because most people at home, if they don't have a really sharp knife, mincing ginger could be a little challenging, right? So I'm assuming maybe everyone knows to peel ginger with the spoon. You just scrape it off, and then you just have to have a really sharp knife. Or if you have a microplane, you could do that as well. It just kind of tends to clog up a food processor. So this is where you could kind of throw it all in. The chili flakes, the garlic, the ginger, the onions, and then just basically turn it into like a puree, and now you eliminate the knife work. So really to taste for your personal preference, garlic and ginger. And then we've got some scallions, right? So that's actually a 4th level of heat, sorry. So you could use scallions or green onions. Leeks would work really well too. Something
onions.
Right. What else?
Regular onions. You could use some shallots. You can use what they call Chinese chives. In Korean, it's called gochu. It's very garlic heavy. So if you like a lot of garlic flavor, you can use that. Just know if you use anything other than the green onions, it tends to ferment faster. If you use a lot of ginger, it tends to ferment faster. So if you like that, that's fine. Like it'll ferment faster. You're gonna eat it quickly. But I like to keep my kimchi like 6 months or longer. So I try to keep this even and not too much onions. So
yeah, I think the oldest kimchi I've ever have had, and it's not on purpose, I forgot about it. It was in my refrigerator. It was in the back corner, nestled away, and I was cleaning the refrigerator or something, and it was a year old, and it was fine. Right? It's super fermented, which is delicious. And so we can remind me you all, we'll talk about cooking culinary uses for kimchi, because it's different with fresh versus like old kimchi. So okay, so we've got, I think we kind of covered sweet, right? Salt, spicy. Okay, so now how do we kind of incorporate all of this together? So the cabbage, obviously, that she's been salting, it's going to sit there for a good few hours. So we're going to work with what she did earlier, and she's going to check her little chunk of cabbage, and yeah, so now she's able to squeeze it, right? Just like a little Pac-Man. She tasted it.
So I'm going to drain and rinse this and let it sit a little bit to get all the extra water out.
And are you going to squeeze it? Because because you and I don't typically squeeze, and I know some people, if you see,
I don't squeeze it just because I don't want to like damage the cabbage.
Yeah.
So I just let it drain for like 10 to like 30 minutes, like just make sure that it's drained really well. So I just gave it a quick rinse.
You're much more patient than me. I don't wait 30 minutes.
I want all of this water to like drain out. So, but if you don't care, like you can very lightly salt this and go straight to your kimchi. It's not going to stay crispy as long. So I want to make sure that all that liquid's gone. And mostly, since this is a small batch, like all of it's pretty much drained out. So we're probably going to mix this.
Okay, so she's drained it. And then now she's going to incorporate all those ingredients that we talked about. So in her mixing bowl, she's going to add her garlic, her ginger, her scallions, her chili flakes. I guess you're going to add it as I say. Garlic. Is that garlic? I can't see. You can make it up. Ginger.
Kristen, do you like a lot of ginger in yours? Sorry, Kristen's gonna inherit this. So
our camera person, she's gonna make a cameo later. That's Kristen, Chef Kristen Torres, everyone. She's gonna benefit from this. So all right, garlic, ginger, scallions. And on the scallions, you notice that she cut it really long. They're probably maybe about a couple of inches, so you don't want to mince it, but like long strips.
Probably about the same like length as
A cabbage.
like, yeah.
Yeah, maybe about the size of like your pinky. Mine. I don't know what everyone else's pinky's like, but all right, you're gonna go Gochugaru,
Yeah.
the chili flakes. So about how much are we looking at here? An eyeball, and then she's gonna add more later.
That's about a tablespoon for just this half cabbage right now, probably about 2 tablespoons. And you can always adjust this. Like if you just want to put a sprinkle in or a lot more, you can do that. You want to taste it as you go anyway.
Yeah.
And then I have some organic sugar. I'm just gonna put a touch in there.
Okay. Fish sauce.
You want fish sauce?
Korean fish sauce. Kristen, you okay with that?
Yeah, she's okay.
Tonight.
So this is pungent and it's really salty. So all the fish sauces are different. So you just want to make sure, like on this thing, you might want to taste it after you rinse it, because you don't want it too salty. Like you can always add more salt, but so it should taste a little saltier than what you want your final product, just because you're adding these things. I'm only gonna do a splash.
Yeah, and that's something. No, that's a really great point, because that's something a lot of people don't actually think about when they're making kimchi, is that you can, as it's fermenting and you have it in the refrigerator or whatever, you can always season it some more with fish sauce or something like that. So it's not a one and done. I know I do that all the time. It's, you know, I find that, wow, you know, it doesn't have as much umami to it, then I'll hit it with a little bit of fish sauce. I am curious in the chat how many of you all love or hate fish sauce out there. So some people hate it because, and I get it, it's the smell, right? But it cooks out, but there's just really such a hard substitute. Love it, yes, Kendall. Now, can I ask what your favorite brand of fish sauce is? Because I know we're talking Korean fish sauce tonight because we're making kimchi, but I am partial to one very superior fish sauce. So yeah, I want to know from you all, what's your favorite fish sauce? Okay, meanwhile, oh, she got the gloves on now. You can't put on the gloves.
I don't want my fingernails stained.
Okay, you can throw on gloves, you all. That's fine. So she's just kind of massaging it, mixing it together. You saw she just added some more of the Gochugaru. And I feel like I need to mention Gochujang. We don't have Gochujang there tonight, but a lot of people mistake the two. Gochujang is the Korean chili paste that's very similar to miso. That is not used in kimchi. You want the flakes, okay? You want the flakes. Don't be putting in sriracha and doing some weird stuff either. So, okay. So
call it salad. You use sriracha, that's a salad.
Yeah, we went from salad to what was the other thing? With the soy sauce.
Soy sauce.
Red boat, yes, Luna. There you go. That's it. You're the winner tonight. Absolutely. Red boat all the way. All the way. None of this mega chef BS, okay? 3 crabs. I got 3 crabs in the house. Anyone going once, twice? 3 crabs. I grew up on it. Love it. Bang for your buck. I love 3 crabs. So, all right. So she is tossing. You saw she added the cabbage to that mixture. She's just kind of tossing it together. And then what are you looking for, Yuhan? Can you tell them?
I'm just making sure everything's incorporated. Like it gets stuck at the bottom sometimes. If you're using the paste, it really, you want to make sure it's like evenly incorporated. At this point, I would add a touch more red pepper because I like a lot of red pepper. It's just.
So do I. Yeah, so I think, I mean, you started with a couple of tablespoons. I'd say probably a quarter of a cup.
Yeah.
A quarter of a cup, about 4 tablespoons for that half of a head. But you really can't mess this up. I mean, don't use the whole jar, but don't be afraid of the color. It's not that spicy. So, all right, so she'll taste it, maybe make any last minute adjustments. At this point, it's just gonna taste like seasoned, a little spicy. You'll probably pick up the garlic, ginger, all that fresh raw taste on cabbage. It's not going to taste sour, right? It hasn't fermented yet. So I see she's got her jar ready to go. You do want to sterilize. I encourage that you all sterilize your jar. Did you sterilize?
So just a clean jar, what?
Yeah, did you sterilize
Just
it?
a clean jar. No, I didn't sterilize it. I just washed it. You just need a clean jar. Like, it doesn't need to be sterilized. If you salted your kimchi right, it doesn't need to be lit. I mean, it just needs to be clean, like dishwasher clean.
That's
if
it.
this is not salted, then you will grow mold in your kitchen.
We're disagreeing. We're disagreeing. There are too many cooks in the kitchen. It's fine. It's fine. She's been doing this for years.
I mean, you can sterilize it if you want to, but if it's gone through the dishwasher, I feel like 180, 190 degrees. It's
Oh,
been
yeah.
sterilized.
Yeah, you're good. I just paranoid. I just get paranoid.
You get paranoid.
Well, yeah, because when you're making like 50, pounds of kimchi, I don't want to take chances here. So, but it's fine.
If you salted it correctly enough, then it should not turn bad, because that salt, it grows the good bacteria. So nothing else grows that's bad, because they can't survive that salinity. So if you don't do enough salt, that's when you're going to run into problems. But yeah, if you salted it enough, like it tastes salty to you, you should be good to go. And then the next part is storing. So I have a little jar. Usually I have like half gallon or like a full gallon, or I have those, the vacuum seal or the fermenter jars that a lot of people like to use. That's fine to use, but this is going to be plenty for this.
Yeah. So she's just going to start to put the kimchi in there and really pack it down. Like, she's really going to try to occupy any type of airspace, any air gaps. I think I did see a comment in there about how to sterilize if you're paranoid like me. All I do is it's kind of like when you're pickling or jamming. I just bring water to a boil. If it's a large jar, then what I'll do is I'll pour the boiling water into the jar. If they're just like little mason jars or something that you're doing, you can do it just the exact same way when you pickle or jam. Put the jars and the lids into a pot, submerge it with water, bring it to a boil, and then empty it out. So the reason why in the big jar I pour it in is because I don't want to try to lift a really heavy jar full of water. So that's why I do it that way. So, all right, so she's filling that jar up, and you see how she's pushing that down, okay? She is going to leave a little bit of room for it to breathe and expand. So you don't want to fill it all the way to the top. So you can, maybe you can show them how little space you kind of leave at the end, because you are, in the next day or two, you're going to see kimchi juice, right? Because there's still salt that's pulling moisture out of the cabbage. Right now it looks very dry, but the exciting part is by tomorrow or 2 or 3 days, you're going to see all that yummy goodness, all that kimchi juice. So she's wiping the jar outside, just because you don't want to attract any fruit flies or little friends or anything like that. So make sure you wipe it really clean. And then I think she's going to give us a close-up just so you all can see what little room she has on there. Kristen, you get that?
Half-inch headspace.
Half-inch, yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
Then,
taps it.
so don't try to like smash your kimchi. You're just gently pushing out. So there's a few air pockets, but as long as it's mostly like packed down, it should be fine. Try not to bruise your cabbage leaves though. So I see a lot of people like trying to smash it like they're making sauerkraut. It's not sauerkraut.
Yeah, it's not spicy sauerkraut. Okay, so at this point, right, you have it in the jar, and now what do? You're gonna let it ferment, and so we can talk about that, like where we would want to ferment it. It's
Room temperature.
room temp.
Not by the sunlight. Somewhere like not too hot. Room temperature like 70, 78 degrees, something like that. And then just somewhere like, and put something below it just in case this juice starts bubbling up, it'll come out, and you don't want kimchi fish sauce all over your floor or your counter. So
I'm guilty of that. I've lived through that before, you all, where I've had 12 jars of kimchi on my counter, and then the next day I've got kimchi juice that, you know, has taken over. So definitely put it in something to catch the juices just in case, because it's going to start to ferment, right? The CO2 is going to start happening, and then you will want to burp it. And when you burp it, you're going to see all those bubbles shoot to the top. So like Yukon said, we don't really want it in sunlight. We want it in just kind of like a room temp, somewhat warm area. But here's where it might change. So depending on the time of year, right now we're in the fall, and I'm in New York right now, so I think like 60 something degrees, and it was just a stunning weekend in Austin, where it was really nice. So it's going to take a little bit longer in that cold environment in the 60s, or like if you're in Seattle, my Seattleites, that's going to take even longer. So, you know, it might take 3 to 5 days or something like that. In the summertime, when it's really humid, right, in Texas, it'll be overnight. But you all can always taste it, and you can see, you know what, I like the fermentation, I like the sourness, I'm good to go, I'm going to refrigerate it, or you know what, I'm going to push it a little bit longer, and go another day or two. Yukon, you got anything to add to that on number of days?
Yeah, so I like really fresh kimchi. Like I would probably put this right in the refrigerator right now and like eat on this for the next 2 weeks and it'll be gone. But if I'm making a huge batch, I'll eat on it for a couple weeks and then I will let it go for months and months. And that's when I like to cook with it. But typically, yeah, it's up to you. Like Chef Pham said, you can taste it after 24 hours. If you like it, then stick it in the fridge. It'll hold for a few. Ferment very slowly. So like it'll change. And with the changes on the kimchi, it's because you can do it with different side dishes or a main dish like soups and kimchi fried rice. It's good when it's perfectly sour. So I usually wait for that kind of thing. Some people like a 2-day ferment, 3-day, 4. I wouldn't go past a 7-day. That's going to be super ripe, and then it's going to start breaking down and you won't be able to enjoy it. So
yeah, I think what we look for in a really good kimchi is something that has, obviously, that it's got some of that sourness to it, right? And then all the flavors that we added in. It's got the umami, right? The salinity, the garlic, the ginger, the heat, but then also like the crispiness, the crunch. And so that's what Yukon's saying. If you let it sit out for too long, right, now the cabbage breaks down too much and it just ends up being really mushy. So you don't want that. So there's definitely kind of the gold standard of what we look for when we're making kimchi, or what's a good kimchi. So yeah, culinary uses, Yukon covered it quite a bit. She likes it really fresh. I definitely like my kimchi a little on the funkier side. So I want it sour. I kind of want it to make my face pucker a little bit. But we eat it, I mean, in Korea, it's a staple. It's at every meal. You know, so in the purpose of eating kimchi and you know, obviously the fermentation festival is that you have these foods that are really good for your gut, right? So your digestion, and it really came out of medicinal purposes. So when you look at ingredients like garlic and ginger, they're healing, right, ingredients. So in Korea, when it was really cold or when it was really hot was when people would get sick. So the fact that they eat this every day, it's a staple, really was preventative medicine, which is so apparent all throughout Asian cuisine. So, but you can eat it fresh, obviously, with just rice, tacos, and then obviously you can cook with it when it's gone too far. So making soup, stews, fried rice, stir fries, anything like that. Salad dressing, mayonnaise, right? Kimchi mayo. I'm kind of over that, but you do you. It's fine. What else? What else do we like to do with kimchi?
Kimchi savory pancakes.
Oh, pancakes. Yeah.
Yeah. The stew, the stir fry, the kimchi fried rice. You can add it to your noodle dishes. I really like to keep the juices. Like once your kimchi's gone, sometimes there's a little bit of juice left. I save that for like cold noodle, like sauce. Like you just mix that with a little bit of gochujang, the red pepper paste. And then you have another sauce that kind of stretches and gives you kind of a good sauce from your kimchi. But we're entering the kimchi season right now, like traditional, like what they call kimjang. So this is when like all the neighborhood ladies will start making their kimchi, like huge bathtubs full. And then they'll go over to each other's houses. And it was because of a time of no refrigeration. So they would make huge batches to last through the winter season, and they would put them in those traditional clay pots buried in the ground because it wouldn't freeze. So it's like the perfect temperature to hold that kimchi. So we're entering that season. So you guys make like a ton of kimchi and like enjoy it throughout the winter.
So what I hear is that we're going to have a big kimchi bathtub party. So
they have these huge bowls. I don't know, these bowls that are like bathtub size that they do it in. If you look up videos, they're in these giant plastic bowls.
Wait, we're gonna get like those little kid, little pools, like those little wading pools.
That's how big they are. That's exactly how big they are.
No joke. So the lesson, right? The moral of this is don't throw away the kimchi juice. I mean, we've seen it in the farmers market and a lot of byproducts, kimchi shots, right? Somebody I just saw, I said that kimchi ice cream that Jam made. Where was mine? I want to know. You all, is there? What are some of the dishes that you guys maybe have used in kimchi? Maybe that we didn't cover. Maybe you've seen it at a restaurant or something like that. Let us know. So what else? Is that it? Oh, I think we could circle back with the brine, right? The cabbage that's in the brine. So basically the same idea. If you're going to go the brine method, and why would we choose the brine method over the cure method? That might be time. You're gone all day or something. You just want to let it soak. And some people they prefer to make it that way. You got any other reason you can think of that maybe?
So if you're gonna do like the quarter cabbage where you stuff each leaf, it's easier to evenly salt it if you use a brine. You just put a heavy plate, or like if you have like those glass weights, or I just use a plate to kind of submerge it. It'll do its magic like in like 10 to 16 hours, depending on your brine. But to like salt evenly all those things, it's like harder. It does use more salt and it does take more time, but I feel like it's more even. So it's kind of up to each person.
Yeah. So yeah, basically you would take it and do the exact same thing. So I think we're going to open it up to, we're like right on time. What do you all have for us? Anything? Shy group. Is the process the same for other vegetables?
Which vegetables? It depends on the vegetable.
Exactly.
But basically the same process. You want to draw out the water, with the salting method, and then you add your pepper, garlic, ginger, all of that.
Is there a vegetable that you had in mind? That question, I don't know who it was who asked. Three crabs, red boat for me on the fish sauce. But it's Korean, so we're gonna go authentic. So yeah, I do.
But I really love the shrimp one, the salted shrimp, and just like a teaspoon.
Yeah,
like not even that much.
Yukon doesn't. She actually prefers to use the salted shrimp, which I totally agree. Okay, we're not sure which veggie. I've had different types of kimchi, some roots. What was the last part of that question? Nora, can you?
Yeah, I'll pop in and just say, so Eric had asked, is the process the same for other vegetables? And he mentioned, not necessarily sure which vegetable, but that he'd had some different types of kimchi with like roots and even lettuce.
Lettuce.
Okay. So sometimes things look like kimchi, but it's not. It's called a muchin. So it's a side dish where they do a quick pickle. So that might be where the lettuce falls in. Usually kimchi gets fermented, like you have to let it ferment. But yeah, sometimes things look like kimchi, but it's not. So that falls in a different category.
Yeah, they might be thinking of like if you've gone to a Korean restaurant or something and you had the little side dishes that we call banchan, right? And that's what Yukon is saying. Some of those are just marinated or kind of like a quick pickle, but not necessarily kimchi, right? So kimchi translates to preserved with salt. So yeah, depending on what root vegetables, but usually, like we mentioned in the beginning, you're going to see like leafy greens, like mustard greens or radish, daikon, scallions, or like wild ramps, cucumbers. Like I said, I've done it with clay sprouts before, and they worked out okay. They weren't great, but yeah.
Brussels sprouts take longer to ferment.
Totally. Yeah, they
take longer.
Yeah.
So any kind of firm vegetable that you can usually cook and it doesn't turn to mush, you could probably use as kimchi. So like bok choy, like you said, like the mustard greens or collard greens. There's like tons of other like green leafy stuff at the Asian market. But not spinach. So if it's close to spinach, it's gonna break down and you won't be happy.
Yeah, and while we're talking about kimchi, not all kimchi are red and spicy like the one that Yukon just did. So there's seasonal kimchi. So one of Yukon's favorites is water kimchi. And so I'll let her kind of talk to you guys about water kimchi.
So it's basically the same process as this, except your brine is less salty. Like you will have a lot of liquid. Like for this process, we probably would have salted it the same and then made like a separate brine, or actually used and diluted the brine we had. And then no red peppers. We might put fresh peppers sliced in there. We might do sliced ginger and sliced garlic. So it's a very mild kimchi. And we would cut this up just the same. We could add daikons and carrots, like other veggies, to make it look colorful. So that's a different type of kimchi. Like there's a lot of liquid. You actually eat or drink the liquid with your meals. So it's different. Like once you kind of master the basic, you can kind of move on to the other ones.
Yeah.
All right, we've got some more great questions coming into the chat. Somebody asked a local question. Where do you recommend shopping for kimchi ingredients in Austin, aside from the Texas Farmers Market for all your fresh produce? I added that last part.
Nice. Of course, Nora. What we Ranch 99, Little K Town, right off of Airport Boulevard, H Mart, MT, Hong Kong Market. Anywhere else, Yukon?
So the Korean markets, there's a Hannah World off of Palmer. There's a Hanyang Market that's off of Lamar near Ranch 99. And then of course there's H Mart. But yeah, if there's any Asian store that has a Korean aisle with the it doesn't have to be this brand, it can be any brand, then all you need is to go to HEB, get your cabbage, get your garlic and your ginger and your sea salt and your set. So and then
we do though, we do prefer to get the Napa cabbage at the Asian market versus say HEB or something, because we just the heads aren't as big and heavy and compact. Like if they're real loose, they just taste really different. So yeah, big heavy heads is what we're going for. That sound right?
yeah.
Okay.
I love it. Big heavy heads. That will stick in people's minds. They will remember that. Somebody else asked, when adding umami, could you use miso or doenjang? If I'm sorry, I'm not pronouncing that correctly. If you don't want to use seafood.
So the miso or the doenjang, which is the fermented soybean paste, that usually doesn't go in kimchi. There might be a recipe for like a side dish for it, but typically because that's already fermented and we're just doing another fermented product, we usually don't use that. But I'm not the expert. There might be some rare region in Korea that uses that for kimchi as their salt. So, but you can try it and tell us how it tastes.
Yeah.
Somebody else asked, they're getting hungry. Can you tell us about the kimchi fried rice? That is new to them.
What? Oh my gosh.
So you need to get on the ball and make some kimchi, like super fermented, because it has to be sour for it to taste the best. So you just stir fry the kimchi, like you can chop it up once it's fermented to your liking, and then just stir fry it with some neutral oil, and then cold day-old rice. You just stir fry it in there, and you can adjust if you want to put more juice in there from the kimchi, or you want more cabbage in there. You can add meat, vegetables. I like to add more onions and green onions to mine, but it's strictly up to you. And then at the very end, right before it's done, you sesame oil it, and then it's done. That's the easiest, simplest way. Add a fried egg on top.
I was gonna say you missed the fried egg. I'm all about the fried egg on kimchi fried rice, but the key is that you actually stir fry the kimchi, the old kimchi first. So it's not just rice and throw some kimchi in there, mix it around and call it a day. Now you actually want to saute the kimchi and then add rice. And like Yukon said, you can add some protein, but try it with a fried egg. Well, what isn't good with a fried egg?
Everything's good with a fried egg.
That's right.
Somebody else asked, when adding fruit as a sugar, is there one you recommend using the most? Will the fruit flavor the kimchi?
Not really. I like using like a really ripe kiwi. Like I said, I recently just had some figs on hand and I thought, why not? I thought it worked really well. Asian pears. But you have to be careful with banana. I mean, I've done it with banana, but like I was desperate. Okay. So that's probably not my top. Yeah. Yukon, what do you use?
Try that next time. So I usually, if I have like a little bit of apple juice or pear juice, I just put a teeny splash in. You're not really gonna taste it. It's really, I mean, unless you're putting like a whole cup of it in, which you shouldn't, but yeah, you shouldn't be able to taste it, but it might be there subtly, like that's what makes your kimchi special from someone else that used something else. So yeah, I would just experiment with it and have fun with it.
I mean, you could even use, even if you didn't have any, you could even use dried fruit and rehydrate it. And then like, again, turn it into like a paste or something like that, especially if you're going to process all those things that we talked about. Like you're just, you know what, I'm just going to blend the ginger, the garlic and the onions and the red chili flakes and just throw some little raisins in there. So to me, it's kind of like if I'm making kombucha and I want to give it that little boost, maybe it's gone dormant, I'll throw some raisins in there just to kind of give it a little jolt. So.
All right, another viewer asked, do either of you have any favorite combinations that we wouldn't think to try?
For kimchi?
I think so. Yeah.
Or like eating kimchi with something, or can you elaborate on that question?
Yeah, Jacqueline, you asked this question. Can you elaborate on what your intention was with this question about favorite combinations? Either in the chat or I can unmute you if you like.
She's miming.
Any combination of how to use or ingredients. Broad question. So yeah, any just favorite flavors, I guess, beyond what we've kind of already discussed.
For me, I'm such a purist. I mean, I swear, I mean, I feel like I grew up with so many Korean best friends. And so for me, I'm such a purist of, I just want a bowl of rice and kimchi and I'm good. Like, honestly, I don't need anything else. Every now and then I might get a little weird.
Okay.
I see. Kimchi and eggs, or kimchi and steak and eggs. I've done kimchi avocado toast. So.
Oh, you know what I've done? A kimchi mac and cheese and kimchi grilled cheese. Like saute the kimchi first. I brought you a grilled cheese before. You forgot.
You know,
and saute it until it's like caramelized a little bit, and then put it on your grilled cheese. Like you can add whatever cheese you want, and then it's really good that way. The kimchi pancakes is one of my favorites. And then I just like adding it to like cold like noodles and stuff like that. So that's kind of my favorite with the.
So that Yukon, that makes total sense. The kimchi grilled cheese, because and kimchi ramen.
Yeah,
you guys, kimchi ramen, because in Korea, right, soldiers actually have
kimchi cheese fries
with what is that, Velveeta cheese, like a slice of Velveeta cheese with their ramen. Yeah, kimchi ramen.
Okay.
That's it. I'm throwing down with that.
Somebody said kimchi with fries, like kimchi fries.
Kimchi fries, okay. I just don't like fries, but yes, sure, I get it.
That kind of sounds like kimchi poutine, you know?
Yeah.
You know,
I can see that.
Things.
We have a Canadian on the, do we have a Canadian on the call, eh?
No, this is me, Nora. I just like poutine.
I like poutine too. You could put some like shredded short ribs on there.
Does anyone else have any more questions? I know this workshop has been so informative. So many great things have been bounced around. All right. Well, thank you so much, Chef Pham. Thank you so much, Yukon. I know that someone at the beginning wanted the name of your hot oil. Can you mention that again, as to where they can get your new line of oil, Yukon? Not yet?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if they want to try some, yeah. It's a House of Y_Eats. I have some chili crispy oil and some chili crisp. So yeah. Chef Pham really likes my chili oil. I'm like, okay.
Okay, she's being very modest here. You all, her chili oil, off the chain, off the chain. I eat it on everything. Yeah.
Is that Instagram? Is that that's your Instagram handle? Okay, great.
Follow her on Instagram.
Well, thank you all so much. And I think everyone in this chat, their microbiomes are going to start bubbling as they eat kimchi in every meal of the day. Thanks to this workshop. All right, everyone have a great night.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks you all. Thank you.